And just, hey there, just so everyone knows, I'm here in my shop in West Oakland, and the street is definitely lively and it's an active shop, so we may get some real world sounds coming through.
Yeah.
Jason's up in the clouds over there in LA, so you just see some birds flying by.
There we go. There we go. Cool. Well, I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, cool. Well, I'm sure we'll have more folks jumping in and out. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you everyone for joining us today for Reuse Kung Fu round one. My name is Brian Enright. For those who don't know me, I'm a sculptor and designer here in West Oakland, California. I've worked in metal, wood, found objects, and historic artifacts for the last 14 years. And I've taught sculpture and welding and mentored youth and students of all ages for over a decade. My mission as an artist is to create works of value, not only for individuals, but communities and future generations, using materials that would otherwise be discarded in landfills or forgotten elsewhere. My work is here to show how interconnected all of our actions are to each other, and how simple changes in our thinking can affect positive changes in our culture and environment. Reuse Kung Fu brings together artists, thought leaders, and what I call the environmental impact community in conversation to create positive change in our world. So it's really those who are looking at patterns in society, how we use things, or more importantly, what we don't think about that generate so much trash or negative impact. And again, how just thinking differently, living differently, and taking action can make the necessary changes that we need for moving forward. Related to that, Reuse Kung Fu is also happening because one of the things that I think our society and culture needs most right now and is lacking is discipline. And no one likes discipline, or it's a chosen few who do. But you know, in a fight, those who have it win. And I really see that the great fight of our time right now is the fight for our planet and our survival together with it. And right now there's just a small few who seem to have discipline around that. Artists are often thinkers and pioneers who share and create the new ideas and potential for our future. And so the reason that I'm starting this all off with the business of art, which is a huge weak point of mine, is because in order to truly help others, we have to first be in a good place ourselves. And I really want that for my artist community and the people making change so we can be effective. With that, it is an honor to be kicking off Reuse Kung Fu with business coach and consultant Jason Brown. He's the founder and CEO of Pocket Chefs, an up-and-coming startup based in both the Los Angeles area and the Bay Area, with a very interesting and varied background in business, in everything from his start in television commercial residuals at the age of 19, creating amazing clothing and custom work that with his own clothing company, Naked Eye, seen on the likes of Missy Elliott and Jeremy Piven, to currently he's joining us from his place in downtown LA, where with his incredible wife and co-founder, he is running his current startup, Pocket Chefs. Pocket Chefs, as he described to me when I first met him, is kind of like an Uber for personal chefs. And he has taken the company from a bare bones idea to more than 300 customers in under 2 years, and launched in 2 different cities. Hopefully he's going to tell us a little bit more about that in a moment. For now, I'm really fortunate to call this man a good friend of mine, as we met in a business class in 2018, and since then have worked together for almost 2 years. We've learned a lot about each other. We've gone through a lot of ups and downs, and he helped me produce my first solo sculpture show last year, which was incredibly successful and in large part due to the guidance of this man. I'm continually impressed with his business acumen, experience, and wisdom, and can't recommend his business consulting company, Infinite Business Minding Consulting and Coaching, highly enough. So thank you, Jason, for joining me today. and joining all of us. And before we go deeper into our conversation, I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your background, IBMC Consulting, and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. Shout out to Chris.
Yeah,
Cotton.
I just saw that. Yeah.
Cotton's in the building. Yeah, so I guess, and you guys can hear me okay? Okay, cool. So I'm just going to give a disclaimer. Brian knows, a lot of my folks who tune in know, I get really hyped. So the passion starts coming out. So I don't want you guys to be alarmed or get scared. It's just the passion. But yeah, so just to, excuse me, I'm just going to touch on a little bit so we can really jump right into the questions to be able just to provide a lot of value for your audience and my audience. So starting off, my background is in entertainment, television, fashion. I wanted to take all of my creativeness, but apply it to a much more business venture that was not necessarily focused primarily on creativity, but I wanted to take the life lessons and the skill sets and what I've developed and apply it to a more fundamental, strict, up and down type business. And that's when me and my wife branched off and created Pocket Chefs. But through the years of my entrepreneurship, I can say I started entrepreneurship when I was 15. So I feel like I'm a 22-year veteran as an entrepreneur. And when I say entrepreneur, it is something that I hold dear to my heart because it is something and a title that comes with a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifice once you make that decision to really turn that corner. But one of the things that it's funny, I had a conversation the other day with somebody, a VC from Portland, and I would say when I started my consulting business, I didn't understand how much of idea, implementation, strategy, and execution drove me. Pocket Chefs is great, being here in the Bay Area and in San Francisco, but the actual building of the systems and the processes and the strategy and implementation is what actually got me out of bed in the morning. And once I got the plane up in the air, we were talking about this yesterday, I was ready to pull the chute. And one of the things that I think brought back that excitement and element is business coaching. One of the things that I feel is very, very crucial, if you look at Michael Jordan, if you look at Kobe Bryant, it takes a coach to bring out the eliteness that's in you, and it just takes a coach that can pull that out. A lot of people think, and I thought this first starting out, that having a coach, and that I don't need a coach right now because I'm not at that level. A coach is to see your blind spots and help coach the fundamentals that are going to take you to that area of eliteness. A coach isn't, and a coach is also, if you feel like you're elite, a coach is also to help harness that talent and that skill set. So a lot of people don't understand the value of a coach. I didn't understand it for years until I became a coach and saw the need that people were actually missing to become great. So that's where now, spending majority of my time in consulting other creatives, business people, and in the culinary space as well, that has become my main focus. Recently relocating out here, as well as Pocket Chefs is another business that we have, as well as Pocket Chefs Ascend. So yeah, that was just kind of a really quick brief bio, but I wanted to make sure, because I know since we've all experienced Instagram lives at this point, we know that they be turning the lights off on you. So we got rented space here.
Yeah,
we got rented space and rented time. So I want to make sure that I can really provide a lot of value within that time that we have rented. So
cool. Right on. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, so jumping into it, for me, doing this over the last 14 years has been a huge journey. And the way that Jason and I came to be working together kind of ties back into some of the things you just said. which is, I had tried everything that I knew how to do. And everything that I could think up, I'd gotten to a certain place and I was proud of that, but I knew that there was another level that I could get to. And so I was like, what lens have I not looked at this career and have not looked at doing this from? And I looked and I was like, well, I've kind of owned a business for 10 years. I've never taken a single business class. I don't really know anything about it. So how about I go there? And so I took that class and, wrote the business plan and all that stuff. And that's where Jason and I met. And when we started working together, one of the things you shared with me was about like that same thing of, we're going to step into a process that is different from the process you are used to, but this is going to have an outcome that is different from your past process. And it showed me a lot of my weak points and was real painful at times, and I commend you for holding steady with me through it. But what I've been able to develop and execute on in the time that we've worked together and the changes that I've made, I've just learned so much. So, through your experience, I wanted to ask the question for the community, what would you say are the 3 things that any artist should know who is looking to go from a maker of things, even if you're super talented, to making a living and creating a business out of and with your art?
So one of the things that I think about business that is a fundamental element that most people miss is every business solves a problem. And it's not to say that as an artist you can't solve a problem, because you absolutely can solve a problem in a creative way that then translates into one of the levels and elements of business. But I think that as an artist, I think the first thing I would take a step back and ask myself, what problem am I actually solving with my art? Now, when I say this is not something, and just to be clear, you don't have to solve a problem with your art. If you want to have art business, you have to solve a problem with your art. So just so we're clear on those 2 things, and when you can identify the problem that you're solving, you then can, and even if you don't understand, and just taking a step back, when you've identified a problem, it's up to you to take your skill set of an artist and figure out how you create a solution for that problem as an artist. And when you can figure out the solution that you bring to this problem, that is the very basic foundational steps of monetizing your art passion. If you cannot identify the problem and the solution you're going to bring to that problem, that is the construct and the framework that is needed to actually start building the foundation of a business. When you can identify that, that's going to dictate what type of business model you have. That business model will then dictate the type of revenue model you have. And then once you understand the problem that you solve, the solution that you're bringing by using the business model, and how you generate money through your revenue model, the third and most crucial thing is going to be understanding the economics of your business. If you understand those things, it gives the framework for somebody to actually come in and now help you reorganize and stack these things. But the problem is, if you're asking somebody as an artist, like, hey, well, what problem are you solving? And they're saying, well, I don't know. Then the value of your solution is not going to be valuable at all, because you can't clearly identify the problem you're solving. So you can't expect a customer to want to come and actually purchase that solution if you can identify the problem. So, and just to kind of even be a little bit more clear on that, like, I'm going to give a very simple example. Say that you are a painter and you have identified properties that need, you've identified properties that are looking for the feel and style of maybe paintings of hills. And you know that that fits their theme, that fits their stories. So when you go in there, being able to say, hey, listen, I know that you have a lot of properties, and I know that I can see the theme is ranch style, and you're looking for things that have, I can see by the mountains and the things that you have around here that my art style is actually a perfect fit. And through my art, I tell stories. So I can create a series that can tell stories throughout all of your hotels, if that is something that you're interested in, because I know that I've read through your bio and your mission, and you want everybody to leave with an experience and a story. So I understand how my solution can contribute to your actual mission and your problem. And that's how you solve the problem for that particular company as a painter. And that is just trying to give a explanation to tie everything in together on the importance of problem, solution, business, revenue model, and understand your economics.
Word. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's kind of wild because it's such a different mindset from where I was at as an artist, right? And both kind of looking at like, what is the work I make and I like to make? Who does that fit with? Versus like going out and being like, who would I want to work with? Okay, what, you know, doing research, learning, like if you want to go that way, if you want to create a model like that, of like, that's the way that I make a living, is through finding these niches and finding these target clients and finding people I want to work with, learning about them, and then taking action to work with them.
Yeah, and I mean, like one of the things that you just said, which was key, finding the niche, but to find, and that's the other thing too, which, without going deep down into a rabbit hole, when you can identify who your market is as an artist, one of the things you have to be okay with is you have your total addressable market, you have your attainable market, and then you have a sellable market. The sellable market may be a very small niche of people,
right? But
when you understand the type of business that you're trying to create, there's enough people for you to build a business based upon that niche market, when you can understand who you can actually attain in your market. Of course, understanding your competitors and what makes you different from them, but being able to be okay with the size of your business based upon the problem that you're solving is something that even me as an entrepreneur with Pocket Chefs, and you have to become okay with that in order to really be able to step into building that business. And that doesn't mean that just because you build that business for that size people, that's the only business that you can ever build, and that's the only way you can use your creativity, and that's the only way you can use your art, because that's not true.
Right,
so
right. It's doing it, executing on that, learning from that process, and then, you know, seeing where you want to take it from there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. For next kind of thing, like one element that is always a pain point and something that I've struggled with over the years, and I know many other artists that I talk to, this is similar, is how to price their artwork. So, you know, for myself, and like myself, there's lots of makers out there who have to wear a lot of different hats, right? And so, you know, I design, commission functional work, and that pays the majority of the bills. But then what's even more important to me is the stuff that keeps me inspired, because that's the reason why I started on this journey and in this career in the first place. And so I've tried a number of different things of, pricing everything the same, whether it's, fabrication work or whether it's sculptural work, which is kind of how I roll at the moment. I just go like an hourly rate and try to make estimates based on that. But then there's another idea of, the fabrication work is billed at one level and the sculptural work is billed at another. So just because that is something that's so tricky, and I know that more than just myself have a hard time with it, I'd love to know your advice on how to price artwork.
All right. So I know, once again, guys, I get a little bit preachy, but I promised I just want to be able to drop some jewels, some bars for you. So a few people that I'm gonna break. So just to be clear, right now, everybody who's watching this, think of what I'm about to download, and we're gonna download through this as your construct. So any way that you were thinking about something before, understand this is a new program that's gonna be uploaded into your construct. So if you feel like you're overwhelmed or it doesn't make sense or it's too much, just understand that that's part of the process and you have to go through those feelings. So when it comes to art, when it comes to business, when it comes to pricing, period. So with my first business, with Pocket Chefs, I had a hard time creating a price for my packages. And one of the number one things as business people, as artists, as humans that we struggle with is we create price based upon our lack mindset, which is the absolute wrong way to create a price. You create a price based upon the problem that you're solving. When you can identify the problem you're solving, you understand the level of the pain point that you are solving and what that customer is willing to pay to get that pain point resolved. The only way for you to really understand that is to understand who your customer is. And when you learn who your customer is, you understand the level of pain they have for that specific problem. So, for example, when we started Pocket Chefs, we started Pocket Chefs, we were charging $15 an hour. I've saved the cards. $15 an hour.
And
why were we charging $15 an hour?
Can you explain? I don't know if everybody knows what Pocket Chefs is and what it does.
Sure. So Pocket Chefs is a subscription-based personal chefing business that runs throughout California. We cater to everyday people that are looking for cooking assistance throughout the week. Our target customer are mostly families, expecting moms, and new mothers. So servicing them, sending a chef to their home, I started out at $15 an hour. Why did I start at $15 an hour? Is because A, I didn't understand who my customer was. B, I didn't understand the pain point that I was solving for them and the level of pain that they felt with that. And then 3, I had a very lack of confidence in my ability to solve that pain point. So from $15 an hour, now I have customers at $860 that are paying for packages, was based upon A, I had to understand the level of pain that the customer was experiencing and how my solution solved that pain point. You have to think, we are going to be willing to pay whatever amount of money we need to relieve a pain point. And that's why it goes back to what I said, it's very important to understand the pain point, the pain that you're actually solving with your solution, because when you can really understand that, and me and Brian, I've been taking him through exercises to really identify who his target customer is, to go even deeper and asking them very personal questions and asking them questions that it may be a little bit off-putting, but in order to peel back those layers, you want to get to what that actual pain point is so you can understand if you're actually addressing their pain point or if you are a byproduct and they're going to something else that really solves their pain point, and they kind of come to you as an afterthought, opposed to being the primary thought of solving that pain point. So as an artist, to bring it back around, I would just recommend, once again, taking the information that we started off with understanding the pain point that you're solving, getting to know and understanding your customer very clear. Because when you can understand your customer very, very clear, you're going to understand all of their pains. And they become very transparent, and they start talking to you about, hey, I don't feel that I find any type of art that resonates with me. And I've been looking for art that I can put at my properties. I've been looking for art to give as gifts, but I can't find anything that resonates with me. Oh, well, what resonates with you? I'm looking for art that involves using cork. Oh, yeah, I've looked everywhere, and I'm actually in a cork group, and we're looking for art that involves cork, and I only found one place, but their pain point is much too high and I can't afford that. Okay, well, I actually do cork, and my pricing is based upon the volume. So you spend X amount of dollars, you spend $1,000 here at this one place, and obviously that's the only place that you guys can find, but you guys are looking for things that fall in the price range of $200 to $300 to be able to get your pieces. Well, actually, that's what my pieces range, around $200 to $300. So what did you do? You identified her problem, which is the price, and it's not going to always be the price. Sometimes it's going to be what's being made and how it's being made. But you've identified the price, and you were able to clearly communicate the value that you can provide in solving her pain point by pricing your products at what it's supposed to be priced at. Or, hey, she was saying, hey, I want cork cups and cork plates. Well, actually, I can do custom cork plates and cork cups for you. Can you? I've been looking everywhere and nobody's been able to find that. Absolutely. Well, how much do you charge? Well, I charge $60 a cup. Really? Man, that's expensive, and I haven't. That's expensive. Well, yeah. I mean, if there's other people out there that can actually do cork cups and cork plates, I think that, I'm more than happy to help guide you through that process. Well, I've looked for years and I haven't found anything, and I need these cork plates and cork cups for our wedding. I need this. They're going to continue to iterate the level of pain that they're experiencing. Now it's up to you to figure out how you make the economics work for your business to create a solution to solve that pain point. And that's how pricing works. Price your product based upon the problem you're solving for the customer that's buying it. Before we transition, I don't know if you guys know of Nipsey Hussle was an artist who created a fan pack where it was like a t-shirt, CD, it was merch, and he sold it for $1,000 a piece. That was the first time a CD was ever sold for $1,000 a piece. Why was he able to? Because he had something to say that captured his audience, where the words that he spoke to relieve their pain point. So they were willing to pay whatever amount they needed to pay to get access to the words that he was speaking, because it relieved such a level of pain for them. And that's how you create the value, is because everything's perceived value until it's actually made value. And what I was going to say, Gary Vee learned this years ago, is the market is going to dictate what the actual price ends up being, because you can price it at one price, but if the market is willing to pay that, then it takes for you to then backwards engineer on what pain they're experiencing and why they're willing to pay that. And then that's how you create the story of selling your pieces based upon that.
Yep. That's, dude, you're on, like, it brings up so many things for me, because it's just like, again, going back to what I was saying on the last question, it's the business side of it is figuring that out. But I really like the example of Nipsey Hussle, because he did it with, this art, right? Like he created this value that, you know, he had to do the work or just have an ear on, like, what are people talking about, what do people want. And, you know, it made me think of other things too, just uh, um, Shepard Fairey, you know, like, and graffiti artists, like, putting stuff out there so much. Like, Shepard talks about, like, when you see something everywhere, the perceived value of that is just so much higher. And he almost like created his own space. So that's something that I definitely have to work on, of like, what is that, you know? That's what I'm always looking at that.
Yeah. I mean, once again, like, everybody that is tuned into this, it is titled Art Business, but like, I'm telling you, like, I did not make six figures in my first business until I solved a pain point. Year after year after year after year after year, we were not making any money and we were at deficits. Until I understood, I used to pick up the phone and call potential customers and really understand why they bought and understand what value Pocket Chefs bring to them. And business is about finding patterns. It's all about patterns. And when you can find the patterns, and that's where I guess my new obsession has come with trading, is because I love to identify the patterns in things that I understand and why things go up and down. And when you can identify the patterns, like, it's okay to take a step back. Like, we had to shut down 5 times we probably shut down every year, maybe sometimes twice a year. It was worth shutting down because I didn't want to keep going down a path that wasn't solving a pain point for somebody. And I've said this to you, and I say this to people that are watching. Don't be afraid to take that step back and shut things down. Sometimes you have to take a step back. And when you continue to move in chaos, chaos produces chaos. Order produces order. Order comes with strategy. And strategy, it's hard to win a war when you're trying to create a strategy in the middle of a battle. The strategy is created before you actually go to the battle, and the battle is won based upon the strategy that you created. That's the same thing with business.
Right.
It's the same exact thing with business.
For sure.
Understanding that customer, understanding that value, creating the strategy, and then going into battle to achieve the win of the war, which is selling your product at a price that is solving a pain point that they're willing to pay.
Right. To make the plan and then execute on that plan. Well, along and connected to that is basically the idea of how do you find and hone down those specific niche customers? Because, you know, for myself, I had never even thought about marketing or like done anything aside from social media until we were in the business class, and then last year doing my show and working with PR team and doing marketing. And I've just been really fortunate that just through word of mouth, I've had and retained enough customers to have steady work. And so, you know, my advice to people in and around that is simply like doing good work, being a nice person when you're there working with them. So if they like the work, they like you, you have a relationship, it's going to continue. But as far as getting new customers and customers that are specifically those who are going to support you or be continue to purchase from you, or like, you know, want to continue a relationship with you and be part of your story, what is your advice in and around finding and then retaining new clients?
So before I give you, so I want to I want to just touch on this a little bit, just because it's something that I had to experience with Pocket Chefs, and I keep going back to value, like value, 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 and I keep going back to value.
Yeah.
When my chefs would come back and I would ask them how was their booking, they would say, "Oh, it went great." Well, what's great to you? Getting through the job is not great. Getting through the job is what's expected. Greatness makes somebody else tell somebody else how great something was. That's greatness. Doing what you're supposed to do is somebody saying, "Hey, nice job." I hate when people say nice job. Because if it was that nice of a job, you would have told somebody else if it was that nice of a job. So I always tell them, and after a while I started to understand like who was actually executing at a high level and who was just doing the job when I would get customer referrals. There's one point where one of my friends and former chefs, as I was coaching him, when he was producing at a high level, he ended up getting 3 or 4 of the customer's friends to sign up. And I had to explain to him the value you're producing for each one of those customers. You've mastered that level of execution. So anything that comes underneath that, that is going to, you know that you're not operating at the highest level that you could be. And when you do that, that is going to organically produce customers. But we are so focused on the job and on the end goal, opposed to focusing on the process, and each part of that process, whether if it's from the beginning of the encounter through the discovery stage, through the implementation stage, through the actual execution stage, every single aspect of that is going to dictate how they feel about the overall project and not just what you actually create. So with that being said, I just wanted to start you off with a little nugget. So this is a way, and I'm giving this to you guys as a way of one of the things that, so I learn a lot by reading, but I also learn a lot by implementation. I try to implement the things to be able to understand how I can really make the adjustments to produce the result that I'm trying to produce. So we like to look at getting customers and finding new customers as this secret serum that only a few people get and they hoard onto it, which is not true. Understanding the fundamentals of business is your foundation, because everything stems from that. So, for instance, when I understood the pain point that I was solving, and I understood where all of those customers hung out at, where can I find a tribe of the like-minded customers that's paying the price that I want them to pay, and the pain point lives at that highest level with them? So where could they possibly be? Where's the easiest way to find them? Obviously online. You're going to find a group of them online. So I said, okay, well, where's the most dense area of customer base that I know that I can find the most like-minded people? Well, for us, because we focus on moms and families, I made relationships with mom bloggers. I made relationships with mom groups. And what I did was I was willing to give out a free 2-hour booking or drop my price dramatically to lower the barrier of entry to be able to get those moms to come and try out the service, because I knew they were all experiencing that pain point and they were willing to pay. They just had to understand, they had to get a little bit of taste of what the solution was. And once they tasted that solution, they understood that this solves the exact pain point that I've been looking for. And that's why I've had customers for 2 to 3 years now.
Right.
And when it comes to finding those groups, that's just for mom groups. That could be for any type of pain point that you solve. There's millions of Facebook groups out of there. but not to even mention Facebook groups. We would go to baby stores. We would go to hospitals. Like, we went to places where we knew our customers were who experienced the highest level of pain point. If you just sit around and think that customers are going to come because you feel an entitlement that they should just come because you feel like your product is good, that's not how business works. People don't just go into a restaurant because no one's going into McDonald's because they want the healthiest food in the world. They go into McDonald's because they're looking for something quick and dirty. And they know that McDonald's is going to produce the same product at the level that they feel is a high level every single time. Very rare you're going to go to McDonald's and find a cheeseburger that does not fit your need in that moment. When we found these mom groups, it became a constant stream of customers that would flow in. I set up a system and a process that became automatic where if I was on my computer, I can show you the Excel sheet of it's clockwork. It became clockwork. And the crazy part about this is with my Facebook ad manager, we started to run ads, but the cost per ad that I would get for Facebook was I was paying $40 or $50 per customer for lead, for a warm lead. That's not even a guaranteed customer.
Yeah.
That was a warm lead. Yeah. When I went into Facebook groups and I spent $40 to give away a free service and have that mom post in that Facebook group, we would get 7 to 8 to 10 leads a day, just coming in through the site, coming in. Why? Because I knew that pain point lived with a lot of those people in that group. So to bring it back full circle, once again, understand the problem that you're solving, understand the pain point of that problem and the person who identifies with that, and then go find a dense place of those people, and then offer an extreme amount of lopsided value proposition at the very beginning. And then you have to trust on your ability to actually come through once you do make that transaction to provide the actual value. Everything's perceived at the beginning, and then the actual value is provided when you have to go through and execute whatever the promise was made for the exchanging of currency.
Right. Yep.
Before we move on, the people that are watching right now, can you just put a 1 in the comment section if you feel like you are getting value from this conversation? If you could just put a 1 in the comment section, we'll take the hearts too. We'll take the hearts too. We'll take the hearts too. And we're seeing positive and consistent social media, specific hashtags. People use social media like Yellow Pages and find really what works good at. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. And we see those ones coming in. So awesome. We appreciate the interaction and the support. So we'll continue to keep going and bringing value. But we like the ones. So thank you. We appreciate that.
Right on.
So yeah, let's keep moving.
Cool.
Oh, we got a 1 in a green heart.
Yeah.
Everybody, a 1 in a green heart.
We're landing something here. Cool. Well, actually, the next question is from someone in my community who responded, and I really like this question. I think it's valid, and it's one for me as well. She said that, so one weakness I have and other artists have is valuing my design abilities as an artist. I have no trouble charging for the time spent in making work, but charging for design has felt foreign to me. How do you approach the subject of a design fee? Do you usually charge for consultation, or do you ever waive the design fee for certain projects? I was gonna take a stab at this first, and then I'd love to hear your comments too, Jason.
Yeah, because I'm about to rip this one up. We had a 30-minute conversation about this earlier, but I'm about to rip this one up. Yeah. So go ahead, B. But I'm about to rip this one up.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. I mean, basically, I was just wanted to share with her one of the things that I learned and the process that was set in place in working with you and Infinite Business Minded is, you know, for myself, like I had been burned so many times on going out, seeing somebody for a consultation, doing design work, doing all those hours, handing it off, and then the people being like, oh, well, actually something came up, we don't have the money for it now, or that's too much, or whatever happened, or they just went radio silent. So we set up a process where it's like, you know, we have the initial phone call, but then if I'm going to come out, which is going to be an hour of time, I'm going to come out, we're going to do the consultation, we're going to talk about, you know, the dimensions, where this thing is going, what you're really thinking about. That has a fee attached to that. And we both know that from the start. Then from those dimensions and those ideas, I go and create a design. So whether that's sketches or that's a CAD model. And that time, which I just estimate, I always estimate 2 hours of time. And, you know, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but I just really try and stick to that 2 hours. That 2 hours of time is also paid, and they pay me, and then I get them the design. But the deal is, with that, they own the design at that point. Like, if they don't want me to make it, or they don't like my estimate off of the design that we've agreed upon, they can find somebody else to make it. At least my time has been covered and paid for. If they do want to go with me, you know, this is part of the project, and that rolls into the overall cost. So that, you know, she asks, do you ever waive the design fee for certain projects? Rarely, but, you know, it's a case-by-case basis, and every once in a while that'll happen. But you can see, Jay, already the wheels are turning. I'm about to get smacked. But I really just try and stick to the process as much as I possibly can, because when you stick to the process, that is the discipline I was talking about earlier that leads to a win. When you start straying from that process, you don't, it can go any and everywhere, and, you know, it's like, stick with the program. So that's how I go about it, and I'm excited to hear what Jason smashed this one next.
All right. Once again, if you guys want me to come off the top ropes, WWF style, I need you to put another one in the comments. Or if you want me just to smile and agree, you know, don't put a one in the comments. But I need you to put a one in the comments, because I'm about to go off the top ropes. Because I think not only for not only for me, call it like you see it. Hey, that's what I'm talking about, and we're about to break it down. I'm speaking from a place of transparency, because I was once in the same position that B is talking about. And so the time that we spent working together, the first 6 months of our time working together was rebuilding his construct. Most people who start in business, we allow people to take advantage of us because of a lack of confidence that we have in our ability to execute, or in our ability to provide the value that we want to provide and think we might fall short. So we give ourselves an out and say, well, I'll waive it this time because you are afraid of the conflict that comes with them potentially not being happy with the actual service that you provided. That's a part of the process. That's just a part of the process. And the one thing that undercuts everybody from creating that financial boundaries, not only with yourself, but for your business. Like, your business is your business and yourself is yourself. Don't induce your fears into your business. Allow your business to be an independent, free thinker. Don't let your personal fears dictate your ability to make the money that you need to make for your business, because theoretically, your business is your shield and your scapegoat. The business charges what they charge. You are you. What happens is we commingle the two, where we're like, well, I am my business is me. So if they say something that affects me, or if I can't deliver on something, it's a representation of me. No, your business is your business. The number one thing outside of the things we talked about earlier, when you go to tier 2 of having your foundation worked out, of what, once again, the pain point you're solving, the solution you bring, your business model, your revenue model, and understanding your economics, are process and systems. Like, process and systems will either create success or failure. Every single business is, and I didn't really start diving into this until I started to listen to Marcus Lemon from The Profit, where he said people, process, and product. And the process of how you set up your infrastructure dictates the type of money that you make and the type of money that you lose. You are able to see the gaps in your system based upon the system you're deploying every single time. If you are an artist and you just run and gun it, or if you move off of emotion and you think people should pay you because you put your emotions and feelings into it, so they should pay you, like, that's not business. What that's called is contractor work, and you are looking for contracts and you're trying to get these contracts by any means necessary. Business means you have a system and process in place, and that is how the business is ran. Now, it's not to say you can't make compromises and concessions based upon what the client is asking for, but you're never going to put yourself in a compromising position that flows outside of what your actual business systems and processes are. So if I showed you how many times customers would come back and they would ask about, hey, well, I didn't want to pay this month, or can I get a refund, or this is so I have my FAQs buttoned down so tight because I know it's the same process and systems that are asked when issues arrive. Mm-hmm. If you don't give them the ability to if you don't have that documented and written out, then you leave yourself open for exposure for them to come back and say, well, hey, listen, how would I know this? Where would I read this at? Over communicating your FAQs based upon the process and systems you have in place protects you from somebody saying, well, I don't want to pay that. Well, fortunately, you've already signed the agreement that states this is my process. It goes from discovery stage to strategy stage to implementation to execution, and this is how the price breaks down for each one of those. So once we move into the strategy stage, where you are actually doing physical work, your process and system in place is going to explain to them, regardless of if you move forward with me or not, you've signed and understood how this process works. You have the design, but your time is being compensated for it. It's just a part of your process. And one of the things that I had to understand when it came to understanding having the confidence in my process and systems was, I had to value myself. Mm-hmm. I had to value the people that was working for me, and I had to value the time and effort that I put in. Was I willing to devalue myself by saying, well, you know what, just give me whatever you can give me, or you know what, I'll let it fly this time. That's not how business works. If you tell me one time you've walked into McDonald's and said, hey, listen, their process and systems, you order, you find what you want, you order from the cashier, you get your receipt, and you walk it over and pick up your food. Not one time have you ever walked into McDonald's and said, you know what, give me 37 cheeseburgers, and I'm going to write my name on this paper and move over here and pick up those cheeseburgers. No one's ever done that, because that's not how the process and systems work.
People may try.
Immediately, absolutely. And what happens when they try? the management says this is not in line with our systems and how the process works.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, I'm not able to serve you your 37 cheeseburgers until we go through the proper system to be able to give you the end result that you're looking for. Now, granted, I understand 100% that 99% of business is not something that you're born with. I don't care what anybody tells you. Business is something, it's a learned skill set. Everything is learned. Nothing, you're not born with, when it comes to developing skill sets, there's no such thing as a natural athlete. There's no such thing as a natural, there's no natural. As a kid, you've been exposed to certain things that has created thought patterns in exposure, influence in your brain that gave you the ability to have your brain start to form in a way that has a different output.
And
Michael Jordan.
45 seconds left right now.
Got you. All right. So
just wrap it quick because I want you to tell folks how they can get in touch with you.
Got you. So we're going to stop it here. And if you guys want a part 2, and if you want more value, I will let you reach out to Brian and we will set up a part 2. If you're out there and you have a business, if you are an artist and you are looking for a business coach or a consultant to help bring organization, strategy, implementation, and execution to your business, just the easiest way is to DM me through here. Go on to my profile and DM me. We're about to cut out, but
thank you so much for
send me a
coming,
message.
everyone.